Yes, SkyGuardian. We can read from another section of the Vachanamrut. This, of course, is a spiritual text that we've been reading one passage at a time. Sometimes the words can be very direct, so I'll do my best to interpret in a way that is understanding of this ASMR Sunday. It's a relatively recent spiritual scripture, whereas others are thousands of years old. This one comes from the turn of the 19th century, where a figure known as Bhagwan Swaminarayan was giving discourses in India. Here we're going to talk about Gadhada 152. Realizing God through the four scriptures. In Indian culture, it's not enough to believe in God. One must realize it. And so the scriptures provide a series of practices that one can follow from beginning to end to have this realization occur. Can be very scientific. On Mahavadhi III, Samvat 1876, or the 2nd of February 1820, Sriji Maharaj Swaminarayan was having a scripture read on the veranda outside Dada Kachar's Medi in Gadhada. The scripture was the Moksha Dharma, a chapter from the Mahabharata, the great epic of 100,000 verses. It's also the epic where we get the Bhagavad Gita from as just a small excerpt. This excerpt was the Moksha Dharma. Moksha means liberation, on enlightenment. Dharma means conduct, righteous duty, that sort of thing. He was dressed entirely in white clothes. At that time, an assembly of munis as well as devotees from various places had gathered before him. During the reading, a reference was made to the fact that one who understands God's form through the four sets of scriptures, Sankhya, Yoga, Vedanta, and Pancharatra, which are various schools of Indian philosophy, should be known to be completely enlightened. That is to say, this God realization is identical, synonymous with enlightenment in theistic traditions. Hearing this, Muktanand Swami asked, Maharaj, please explain how one can realize God through those four sets of scriptures. Also, what deficiency remains in one who does not realize God in that way? Sriji Maharaj replied, the Sankhya scriptures propound God as being the 25th element. Moreover, just as the 24 elements are incapable of doing anything without God, Jiva and Ishvar, soul and God, or deity, are also incapable of doing anything without God. Thus, Jiva and Ishvar are also included in the 24 elements. These 24 elements, which include Jiva and Ishvar, are called Kshetra, which means the field, and God, the 25th element, is called Kshetragna, the knower of the field, the witness of the field. This is discussed in the Bhagavad Gita as well. The Yoga scriptures propound God as being the 26th element and possessing a definite form. They describe Jiva and Ishvar as the 25th element and describe the 24 elements as being distinct from them. They prescribe that one should meditate on God, realizing one's Atma, true self, to be distinct from those elements. Various philosophies distinguishing models of existence. SkyGuardian, you share, this is what Jim tells you every week. The field, Kshetra. Very interesting. The Vedanta scriptures describe God as pervading all, being the cause of all, the supporter of all, nirguna, without quality, untainted by Maya, the material energy, this whole universe of form, non-dual, as well as being a non-doer despite being the all-doer. They also describe him as possessing only divine attributes and not any worldly attributes. The Pancharatra scriptures' description of God is that there is one Sri Krishna Purushottam Narayan, and it is he who emanates into the forms of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. It is also he who assumes an avatar, a descension on this earth, one who offers the 9 types of bhakti, loving devotion. To him attains liberation. These are the various descriptions of God as given in those 4 scriptures. One who thoroughly understands them should be known to be completely enlightened. Leaving the other 3 scriptures aside, if one were to try to understand God's form using the Sankhya scriptures alone, then a discrepancy would arise. Specifically, the Sankhya scriptures do not describe Jiva and Ishvar as being distinct from the 24 elements. Thus, when followers of Sankhya reject the 24 elements and believe their Jivatma, individual self, to be distinct from them, they would understand their Jivatma, but not God, to be the 25th element. The drawback in trying to understand God's form in the Yoga scriptures alone is that by believing God to possess a definite form, the followers of Yoga consider him to have limitations. They do not understand him to be the Antaryami of all and absolutely perfect. The drawback in trying to understand God's form in the Vedanta scriptures alone is that God, who is described as the cause of all, pervading all and nirguna, without quality, is believed to be formless. The eternal form of God would not be realized as being devoid of mayic, material arms, legs, etc., and as possessing divine limbs. The drawback in trying to understand God's form from the Pancharatra scriptures alone is that human traits are perceived in the avatars of God, the descensions, who are worthy of being offered bhakti, loving devotion. Also, God is understood as being present in only one place at any one time, but not as being the Antaryami of all and absolutely perfect. These are the types of discrepancies that arise when a person does not realize God using a combination of all 4 sets of scriptures. However, if one attempts to realize God using all 4 sets of scriptures together, then the flaw raised by one's understanding of one set of scriptures is corrected by one's understanding of another. Therefore, they who understand God using all 4 sets of scriptures together is known as being completely enlightened. If one ignores one set of scriptures, they are known as being 3/4 enlightened. If they ignore 2 sets of scriptures, they are known as being half enlightened. If they ignore 3 sets of scriptures, they are known as being 1/4 enlightened. And ignoring all 4 sets of scriptures, they act according to their own mentally concocted interpretations of the scriptures. Then, even if they are Vedanti, or one with Upasana, they are lost. In other words, they cannot be said to have found the path of liberation. Thus, such a Vedanti's jnana, knowledge, is hypocritical, and a person with such upasana is a hypocritical devotee. So that was a very technical passage, as many of these are, and a little direct, but nonetheless, I like that point of being open to all sets of scriptures. And as you become more aware of various different understandings, then you can become deeper in your own liberation and understand the ultimate reality from all angles. So thank you for listening. Now we may continue with our Sangha.